Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we are diving headfirst into a seriously game-changing concept built specifically for the AI era. It's called Play First Programming. Look, if you've ever felt like software development was this exclusive VIP-only club guarded by math geniuses, or maybe you tried to learn coding once and just got entirely crushed by the massive amount of memorization you needed before you could actually make anything fun, well, get ready, because today we are literally tearing down those gates. Let's jump right into it. So I want you to think about this. What if you could build working software without typing a single, solitary line of code? I know it sounds completely like magic, right? But it's actually our new, totally accessible reality. For decades, starting any kind of coding project meant sitting down and facing what we call the blank page terror, just staring at a blinking cursor, absolutely terrified of making one little typo that would somehow crash your entire machine. But what if your first step wasn't typing out rigid syntax, but simply having a conversation? You can really see the contrast when you put the exhausting old world right up against our liberating new reality. Traditional computer science basically forces you up against this massive theory wall. You have to learn, then practice, and maybe, just maybe, months later, you actually get to build something. It's like you're forced to master the entire grammar of a language before you're ever allowed to speak a single word. But the Play First path, it flips this whole thing completely upside down. You imagine, then you build with AI, you play, and then you learn. It perfectly mimics how a child learns a language. You speak first and figure out the grammar later. It gives you that instant gratification of creating a real working toy from minute one. All right, to help us navigate this whole new clubhouse, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be heading Section 1, the theory wall falls. Section 2, vibe coding versus play first. Section 3, the play first loop. Section 4, the 5 core tenets. Section 5, choose your sandbox. And finally, Section 6, redefining digital failure. Let's get started. Section 1, the theory wall falls. You know, it's so important to validate that total beginner's fear of the blinking cursor, because honestly, those fears are completely justified. Traditional learning used all this complex logic and strict typing basically as a filter to keep people out. But AI has dismantled that. Think back to how you played with Legos as a kid. Did anyone ever hand you a structural engineering textbook before you built your first spaceship? Of course not. You didn't sit in a classroom studying the load-bearing limits of a 2x4 plastic brick while holding back tears over a missing semicolon. No way. You just dumped the whole bucket of bricks on the floor and started snapping things together intuitively. And that is exactly what AI does for us now. It does all the heavy lifting of writing that complex syntax, which means you can just focus entirely on snapping your digital bricks together. Section 2, vibe coding versus play first. Now, you might be wondering, wait, isn't this just vibe coding? Like, I see people doing that on social media all the time. It's a fair question, but we really need to separate this methodology from that chaotic, highly monetized AI coding discourse you see online. The difference really boils down to this quote: vibe coding is the spark. Play first programming is the campfire you build around it. See, there's a bit of a culture war right now between folks using AI to just churn out garbage apps for quick cash and traditional developers trying to gatekeep the whole craft. We aren't in either of those camps. Vibe coding gets you a fast result for sure, but play first, that sustains your curiosity. It's not about rushing enterprise software hitting deadlines. It's about giving yourself a structure for a really joyful, sustained relationship with technology. Section 3, the play first loop. Okay, this loop right here is the absolute heartbeat of creation. This is the repeatable engine that works exactly the same whether you're tossing together a simple web page in 5 minutes or building a super complex desktop app. Let's walk through these 4 incredibly accessible steps. Step 1, imagine. Just start with a simple what if, a feeling, or an image in your head. Step 2, prompt. Describe that idea to an AI like Claude or ChatGPT in plain English, exactly like you were talking to a friend. Step 3, play. And this is key. Do not look at the code yet, just run it. Click the buttons, watch the animations, observe it before you pass any judgment. And finally, step 4, tweak and break. This right here is where your learning actually begins. You dive in, find one number in the code, change it, save it, and just see what happens. You're learning through completely direct observation and reaction. Section 4, the 5 core tenets. To keep this whole space focused on curiosity, we follow 5 foundational rules in this clubhouse. They make sure we focus on the joy of making stuff, rather than getting bogged down in academic rigor. First up, play comes first. This means curiosity always beats planning. You start with a feeling, not some boring feature list. Second, anyone can play. Literally, asking what if in plain English is the only qualification you need. Third, learning is the reward. The exact moment you stop and ask, hey, how does that work? You are already succeeding. Fourth, mistakes are discoveries. This one is absolutely crucial. It turns those unexpected little accidents into incredibly valuable info. And finally, the fifth rule, fun is the finish line. This removes all the pressure. You don't have clients here, success is just making something real that you're genuinely proud of.
Section 5, choose your sandbox.
So how do we actually put all this into practice? Well, you've got 3 distinct learning environments, or what we call sandboxes, that you can graduate through totally at your own pace. You start with HTML. The setup time here is literally 0. You just use a basic text editor and your web browser to build these cool visual experiments like drifting stars. Then, when you're ready, next up is Python. This takes maybe 15 minutes to set up with a library called Pygame, but the reward is huge. You get hardware-accelerated graphics and motion, and you leave the web browser entirely. Finally, for some real-deal engineering, you can move to C#. Using Visual Studio, you can build professional desktop applications with live controls. Think branching text adventure engines. The environments definitely scale up in power, but remember, that play-first loop we talked about, it stays exactly the same. But hey, quick detour, before you start prompting the AI in any of these sandboxes, you've got to run what we call the smoke test. Every single sandbox begins with a tiny, pre-written snippet of code. You just save it and run it to prove your environment is set up right. If it runs, boom, your sandbox is officially alive. It's just a super quick win that confirms everything is connected before the real play actually begins. Section 6, redefining digital failure. Okay, this part right here, this is probably the most vital mental shift in this entire methodology. We seriously need to reframe how we view bugs, crashes, and errors. In traditional coding, an error message or a frozen window makes you feel like you just completely failed, right? It feels like a giant stop sign. But here, a blank screen is actually a landmark. It indicates you have found the exact edge of the map. We actually want you to break things on purpose. When your Pygame window completely freezes or your HTML page suddenly goes entirely blank, it means you successfully pushed that system to its limit and found exactly where the rules change. A crash isn't incompetence anymore. It's a celebratory discovery. All right, I want to give you a direct call to action right now. I want you to try feeding this 30-second prompt into an AI. I've never coded before. Help me build something playful, maybe drifting stars or a bouncing ball. Explain it simply as we go. Literally, you can copy and paste that exact prompt into a free AI tool like Claude or ChatGPT today. It takes less than 5 minutes to see your very first creation come to life right in front of you. Which brings us to our conclusion for this explainer. I really want you to ask yourself, if you are no longer afraid of the code, what toy will you build first? The tools are completely free, those exhausting traditional gatekeeping barriers are officially gone, and there is a massive, totally unexplored map just waiting for you. The only thing you need to bring to the table is your curiosity. So jump into the sandbox, start playing around, and just see what you can build. Thanks so much for joining me today.